Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast, and welcome to Studio C, I'm going to call it, TWRA Studio C.
The Cypress Room. Yes, Jason. Yeah, this is kind of my domain. My dad and I built this studio in 1985, which happens to be the year after our guest started with the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a great spot. We've recorded a lot of music here, and because our parking lot's getting fixed at the office, we kind of had to find a new space. So we thought, well, we'd come over here. So welcome to the Cypress Room.
Great little space right here, and I'm looking forward to a great conversation. We've got Mr. Bones with us. If you work within the agency or work around the agency, have been to hunter classes or boating classes or other things like that, you know Bones. But Darrell Bernd, and he has been on WildCast before, back when Doug was hosting with us. It's been a while back, but I'm excited to have him.
And he's even been on Doug's radio show back in the days when he was on, I guess, WTN.
Early in the morning.
Yeah.
Way early in the morning.
5 o'clock, sportsman's drive time, as he would describe it. Yeah.
So we're celebrating Bones today with his Fisheries Lifetime Achievement Award. He received that at the commission meeting a couple weeks ago, and we thought it would be a great time to have him in and have a little conversation. And before we dive into this topic and some of these things here, do you want to, how about WTN for a shout out today?
Yeah, Tom? I think that's perfect. Yeah, it's only fitting. Yeah, WTN 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, so you can tune in Tennessee WildCast and for the whole hour. So you'll hear two shows back to back on WTN. We appreciate them and appreciate our listeners right here in Middle Tennessee and beyond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, all right. Well, let's dive in. Bones, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're on your way out. You're about to retire, and only a few days left. So we wanted to get you in here before you head out.
December 31st probably be my last working day as I turn my truck and everything in. But having started out in 1984 BE before Edison for the state employees, and here we are 41 years later. I never dreamed, wow, what an adventure to be the places I've been, to see the things I've seen, the critters I've touched.
Yeah.
To watch the agency mature as I've matured. I just recently turned 61, and I came in at a time to where the agency had just begun being switched over from the game and fish to the wildlife resources. That was in 74, and I started in 84. So it's been a unique experience to watch the different levels that we've climbed and the different, and I know we get hammered on social media by people saying, y'all don't know what you're doing. Well, as we learn more, we are learning more. Just the different things that I've seen throughout the years has been really eye-opening. The electronics is getting smaller. DNA hit. Now artificial intelligence is hit. Just all those combinations are making us smarter.
Yeah.
And giving us more tools to manage the resources with what we have. I remember back when I first started, if you saw a deer, it's a deer.
I know. Yeah.
And now it's a deer. Back then they had a fawn, and now you're seeing triplicates. Hunting's dropping off about 1% every year, but fishing is stabilized roughly.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. The state has matured. We have gone from a rural state to a very urban state. And that's what people don't realize. I grew up coon hunting, and we'd go out coon hunting at night, 3, 4, 500 acre farm was nothing uncommon.
Right.
You don't see those farms anymore. Murfreesboro, just look at the growth around it. Columbia, look at the growth around it. These places are exploding. That used to be a rural country town, laid back and everything. Not anymore. About the only rural places you'll get anymore is Perry, Linden, Humphreys County, all down through there, Hickman County. But it's growing as people leave Williamson County and jump over into East Hickman,
right,
at Bon Aqua area. That's just unbelievable, and it's happening all across the state.
Yeah,
and that's what people don't realize.
Well, you came to the agency at an interesting time because you were, as you described, 10 years into the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency as opposed to the Game and Fish, but you overlapped with a lot of the guys that had come to work for the agency right out of World War II.
Yeah, the 49ers, and those were guys that were toughened by war. They'd been in the military. Everything to them was a weapon instead of a firearm or hunting, and that group was leaving out, and of course they had made the college requirement then for officers, so you had those guys coming in. There was a little bit of conflict between those two different viewpoints because, one looked at them, that snotty kid.
Yeah.
Now here I'm 62 looking at you, snotty kid. Anyway, so there's all sorts of different layers at the agency that I've witnessed throughout the years, and watching those people retire and watching the new guys come in, and those new guys are done retired now. Jeff Hummel down in Lawrence County, I watched him get hired and retired. Bedford County, I watched Larry Thurston and a few others get hired and retired. So that group of people now is done leaving out, and now we've got this newer group who's seen TV shows, and that's another thing that's happened with the officers. Back then, they was multi-purpose officers. They done it all. They done fish attractors. They banded geese. They done everything. We was out there working together, and now we've specialized now to where we've gone separate directions, all because of the changing of the times and the changing of the state.
And your first job was?
Bedford Lake at mowing grass in 1984. Mowing grass. And that's one thing that the state does very well. We mow grass, and lots of it. So in 1984 was a wildlife aid back then, and they changed the name because back then AIDS was getting started, and that was a bad connotation.
Yeah.
So, they changed the language on that.
But your background was from growing up on a farm, right?
Grew up on a farm, and
great preparation.
Working. Actually, was born when we lived in Flat Creek, Tennessee. If everybody knows where Flat Creek, Tennessee is, and then we moved to town. But Daddy had actually bought 20 acres, and we raised cattle out there on the 20 acres, and played around with him, and of course Granddaddy he had hogs, and as a little 5-year-old I never knew, and I thought everybody ate pork brains and eggs.
Yeah.
So nowadays you say something like that, I mean, the only thing we didn't eat about the hog was the squeal.
I need to trigger the rim shot there.
But that was part of my upbringing, and of course because I was such a small frame, and I was 6'2" and weighed about 100 pounds, and I had a mouth like this, I got stuck in a lot of places and got to do a lot of different things, and because of my shy, reserved personality, the powers that be would stick me on certain jobs, and I got a lot of different on-the-job training. And at the time, I was wanting to, Daddy was wanting me to be a lawyer, and I had started in MTSU, and, just me in school, I was burned out on school. And then I got this job, and I'm like, hey. and in 1986, I went full-time because the Dingell-Johnson Act had passed, and they started what was called a string crew. and I started up on the string crew. And because Daddy had worked for Duck River Electric and the power company, I've been around electricity all my life. And I'm like, you put that wire there, you put that wire there, everything's going to work. So we built a little shocking barge and started shocking creeks, me and Jeff Prestwich. And Harry Hargis was the supervisor then, and he would look at me and say, keep your nose out of the newspaper and keep your reports on time, and you'll have a long career with the agency. Well, here I am 40 years later, and it worked out pretty good. And then I had an opportunity to do creel on the lakes I grew up on in 1996, I think, and to go to Normandy Woods and Thames and do the creel. Pat Richardson had retired from that position, and I had went over there to work talking to fishermen and everything. And those are the lakes I grew up on. I mean, we fished them every weekend.
Yeah.
And I got to see, Normandy and Thames being built. As a little kid, Daddy was pulling out the power lines from those places, so I got to ride with Daddy on the weekends.
Yeah.
Neat. As they pulled out the telephone poles, the electrical poles, and electrical wires. To watch, to be standing there underneath Awalt Bridge, which is over 100 foot of water right now, at the little store eating a bologna sandwich and a RC Cola and looking up at the great big tall bridge that was being built there. And Daddy saying, there's going to be a lake here one day. And, of course, as a little boy, I'm not paying no attention. Yeah, Daddy,
Yeah.
But to wind up working those lakes was really an experience, a very hard experience at first, because Daddy had passed away at that time, and going back to those individual spots where we fished and spent so many times, and the winters and the summers and everything, and that first couple of months was a really trying time, especially on Thames Ford. Yeah, because I spent my childhood growing up on Thames Ford, and then as Tim Cleveland was in Region 2 at the time, and he was in Iraq. And the gentleman that had my previous job, Mark Ventura, left to be an officer. And the guy, Jeff Prestwich, called and Tim Cleveland in Iraq and said, who do we want? He said, well, see if Bones will come back. And because his exact words, I'm tired of that job being a revolving door. So I came back to the string crew in 2005, I think it was, somewhere around there. And I've been there ever since. And, of course, we've changed our tactics and our equipment a lot since then. Jet drive boats now. Yeah. I've been up and down Duck River multiple times, all 289 miles of it, to watch it go through the changes it has. The people building up around Duck River, the amount of water we're extracting out of Duck River between Manchester and Columbia. That system down through there, we're taking out like 31 million gallons a day out of that river. So and what people don't realize, if you go back and look at the old historical data on that river, in 1933 in Shelbyville and Columbia, it recorded a zero flow during the Dust Bowl years. Oh, wow. So that's how dry Duck River can get. And if we ever hit that again, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. One interesting fact that you mentioned while we were just chatting before the show was how there's one spot where the flow stops and it kind of goes underground.
Well, you're looking at Tennessee has more caves than anybody in the United States. Yeah. And in the Middle Tennessee area, because of the rock structure and everything, we have a ton of caves in Middle Tennessee. And between Shelbyville and Columbia, Duck River actually loses flow. It all goes underground. A big percentage of it goes underground. And there's been several studies done by not only the Upper Duck River Development Agency, but MTSU and a few other people around have done studies on that section of the river, just because of the amount of flow that it does lose to those underground chambers and everything. It's amazing to see the amount of species of fish. Yeah. Bernie at the aquarium Kahata, he'll look at you and say, "It's the rocks, boy." And it is the rocks that give us the amount of species of fish that we have, 151 just in that area alone. Tennessee has roughly over 300 species of fish in there. And, it's between us and Alabama as to who has more species of fish. Of course, I consider them cheating because they got the Tennessee River in there. So.
Yeah, it is a Tennessee River.
It is a Tennessee River, just like the Gulf of America. Anyway, we have so many different species of fish. It's the amount of species that make us unique, especially Duck River. Middle Tennessee, we're blessed. If you just Google a heat map of fish species, Middle Tennessee is it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking the walleye and bass. I'm talking the dinky fish, as we call them. The rainbow darters, the tangerine darters, the slackwater darter. We went looking for them. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see me in the middle of a cow pasture in Wayne County in January looking for the slackwater darter. And guess what? We found them. Awesome. There's a cow print with a little bitty darter in the middle of it. And I'm like, wow, okay. Wow. So, and that's a federally endangered species. That's the uniqueness of what we do. And I know a lot of people give us heck on the internet saying, y'all just don't know what you're doing. Well, yeah, we do know what we're doing, but we're learning more each and every day.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like you should be, if you're out there in the wild. And I grew up hunting and fishing. And I love fishing, and I tell the kids nowadays, if you love fishing, you need to specialize in hunting. Or if you love hunting, you need to specialize in fishing. And they'll look at me like, what do you mean? I said, once you're out there 5 days a week, you don't want to be out there on your weekend off.
Kind of spoils your hobby, doesn't it?
It spoils your hobby, especially when you compress on a pedal and 750 volts just get you anything you want.
A 10-pound bass. Yeah.
Let's jump back on the technology and stuff. So it sounds like to me from the beginning you were hands-on in creating some of the tools that we're using today.
Some of the tools we started out with just a basic generator with a wire on each side going into the water.
Yeah.
And of course there are companies out there at the time. There was multiple companies, Cofelt and Smith Root and a few others, a couple in Canada. But we started purchasing that specialized equipment and then wiring it to the boats.
Yeah.
And that gave us a better survey of what was there. We actually for a few years, about 2 years there, we actually used Primacord. And we had an old supervisor at the time, Doug Pelvin, who loved to use sodium cyanide. So there's all sorts of sampling techniques that we used to use that we don't know more.
Yeah. Because
it was such damaging to the environment. Whereas electrofishing, there's some debate as to the efficiency, but if you're in there, usually about 80% efficient, to where if you're experienced in watching the fish, you're not damaging and letting them break their backs and things like that. Yes, you can hurt the fish. But if you're experienced with the shocker and know the conductivity of the water and the voltage that you're using and pay attention to that fish, then you're not going to hurt him. Now, there is some studies that in certain times of the year, like when trout have eggs in them and things like that, which normally we don't have around in Middle Tennessee, but they do in the mountains. You just don't want to shock the fish when they're laying the spawning around there.
Yeah. Well, and we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but the agency has so many talented individuals.
Oh, yeah.
If you're in fisheries, you're also helping in wildlife. If you're in wildlife, you're also helping in fisheries, and vice versa. Officers are doing multiple things. But talk a little bit about how that you've seen that over the years.
Over the years, when I first started, the technicians done it all along with everybody else. And we pulled in office people and everything. As the agency, we're just a little bit under 900 people. I think 600 people full time right now. Mm-hmm. Back then, it was even smaller, and everybody done everything. You poured the concrete. I poured the raceways at Flintville twice. Mm-hmm. Cleaned the concrete forms and everything. Jim Elkins, one of our older gentleman that he worked till he was 94 years old. He had 60 years in with the agency.
Yeah, pond liners, that's another big one.
Another big thing that we've done throughout the years. Just simple little things like that. Fish attractors. We've gone from them, and I'll use my personal term for them, junky Christmas trees. They become a lump after a couple of years, whereas our structures that we're putting in now actually stay there for several years. And Ted Offerman in Region 2 has done several side scan studies showing that they're there after 5-10 years and they're still attracting fish. So the electronics and the people working, back then I had a supervisor that said, "You've never done hunter safety." I'm like, "No, I don't have to." He says, "Yeah, you do have to. You're going to teach it." And so we started teaching hunter safety, and between Eddie and Catherine and Philip Ware and Faye Hickerson, we had worked as a team at Ken Reedy, and I've been able to teach all across Middle Tennessee from Hickman County all the way to Gallatin and Sumner County.
You taught my daughter her hunter ed class, yeah.
I had left a hunter education class and was getting on a plane to go hike out in Wyoming, and I was still in uniform as I'm going through TSA, and of course I've been on the firing range with these kids, so the gunpowder thing goes off, and the lady says, "You need to stand over there," while I call my supervisor. So the TSA, and I'm like, "Oh boy, here we go." So the TSA supervisor comes over there and he says, "You and that old lady, what was her name?" I said, "Faye." "Yeah, y'all taught me in hunter safety. Go ahead, you're all right." Okay. But, 21,000 students, over 800 classes, won the hunter safety instructor of the year one time. Randy Husky, who's over it, gave me the award for the another award for the helping out anytime they needed help. Boating safety instructor, I was around when that first came about and taught several classes on it. Just different things. Everybody done it all back then.
Yeah.
And now as we've grown into more of a state agency and everybody is kind of specializing and going in a different direction, and that's just the uniqueness of it now. So, I done dove, I done deer, I done turkey. I helped with the otters coming back in. I apologize. The elk, I remember Mark Thurman holding up the elk's head coming back because they had an elk that had gotten a little bit too much dose to keep it asleep, and he had to hold up the elk's head in the horse trailer as they, to watch all that stuff come back in. Has been just amazing, and to watch the agent, like I said, to watch the agency mature just like I've matured has been something else.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning you mentioned, starting very soon after the transition to Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. So you saw some of the restoration efforts too, I'm sure, with the deer and turkey and things like that were going on.
To watch, at one time they still had the cages where they trapped deer at AEDC and moved them out to different places or brought them in.
Yeah.
To the nets that they shot on the turkeys, to go up to LBL and transplanting all those turkeys and everything. A lot of long drives on that. The restoration of the fish, the muskie, just the different things that we've done with fish, and Humboldt's a long way from here. To watch the Florida strain bass come in and see the effects of the F1 generation, that first generation between the northern, and to watch the growth on that, and to see, that's what people don't realize about Middle Tennessee and Tennessee in itself. I was on Creel one day and I pull up on a guy, a California person, imagine that, and he looked at me and he says, "This is great." It was July the 4th weekend. I'm like, "What do you mean it's great?" He says, "You can go anywhere on the lake." I'm like, "Well, yeah." And he says, "Where I come from, it's Clockwise Lake." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And out in California, they have clockwise. You can only go clockwise around the whole lake.
Really?
Or they have a DNR guy there. When it gets to a certain number, they shut the gate. When one boat comes off, one boat goes in.
Oh, wow.
And that just amazed him that we was able to do this. And you,
it's called freedom.
Yeah, it's called freedom. But out there, the water is so limited and there's so few lakes. Around here, if you're in Murfreesboro, you just draw a 90-mile circle around Murfreesboro. You've hit 13, 14 different major lakes.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize is we're so blessed in Middle Tennessee.
We are.
And I think at one time, God, in the 80s, we was like third in boat registration behind like Florida and Michigan. I don't know what it is now, but at one time we had just about as many boats in the United States as anybody. So
Yeah, it's a great place to visit. For out-of-staters, they come here and fish and hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a special place for sure. I love Tennessee. Well, just before we wrap up here, this is kind of a prime example of a Tennessee TWRA employee who does it all. And we talk about it all the time.
He really is. Yeah.
And it's the hands-on helping where needed and jumping in. I mean, I think about NASP. You mentioned NASP earlier before the show. Boat shows, hunt shows, fairs. I mean, you've done it all. You've had your hands in it all.
At least the state fair was air conditioned this time.
Yeah, this year was
wow,
a much better spot. This
much
year,
better spot. And then I enjoy working the fairs. I do teach one day a week at MTSU and just educating people.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
I teach bowling and first aid, two things that should go together. But I had a friend that works in that department, and she said, "You're an avid bowler." And I'm like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, our bowling instructor just quit. Would you want to?" And so here I am 10 years later, and I teach bowling and first aid. So those things just kind of go together, and
We have to start calling Bones Professor.
Dr. Bones.
Dr. Bones. But that's just so much fun to these last 40 years. Wow is all I can say, and here I am.
Every time I see Bones doing something, he embraces it, no matter what it is. If he's stocking trout or teaching hunter ed, just whatever, he embraces it. So we appreciate you.
I appreciate being here. I appreciate the sportsmen for funding my job.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for buying a license and getting out there and enjoying what Tennessee has to offer, because that's what we're doing it for.
Yeah, exactly right.
Make hunting and fishing better for the state of Tennessee, and just get out there and enjoy the wildlife. And thank you for all that you've done for the agency and for the sportsmen.
Well, thank you. And like I said, thanks to the agency and thanks to the sportsmen, I've never worked a day in my life. It's been
there.
a ride.
You go.
It's been fun.
We'll go throw a strike for me and enjoy retirement.
I'm gonna get back to crappie fishing. Is what I'm fixing to do.
There you go. You get your hobby back.
I get my hobby back now.
All right, awesome. Well, this is Tennessee WildCast. Don, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you guys out there for watching and listening. Thanks again to Bones for being with us, and we'll see you next time on Tennessee WildCast.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.